Hello everyone, this is Dalian, and the GxK hype is real! Big Monkey and Big Lizard fight another Big Monkey and Big Lizard! Monsterverse mentioned! Hurrah! What the fuck, a properly developed human character! The Playmates 6-inch Evolved Godzilla with Heat Ray, Kong with Beast Club, Skar King with Whip Slash, and Shimo with Frost Blast are recently released figures by Playmates through their Monsterverse line. A line of simple and affordable kids toys that are meant to bring the big bombastic fun of the Monsterverse back home for kids to enjoy. With that being said, I'm almost a grown-ass man with less than a year left until I'm legally allowed to become forklift certified. And if playing with cheap kids toys at this age makes me a stupid baby, then put me back in kindergarten, bitch. These figures are coming out in conjunction with Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. And while anticipation around this movie is sort of mixed, I know for a fact we're gonna have a blast seeing it in theaters. And I do mean we, since I'm actually going to be seeing this movie with my awesome friend Gojira Films Productions. So please go check him out when you can. That aside, for reviews where I'm covering multiple figures like this one, I'll be covering each figure individually and drop the transitions to get straight to the qualities of each figure. We'll be starting off with none other than the Big G himself. The paint job on Godzilla Evolved is okay. The paint is decently applied and looks alright from a general view, though it's a bit spotty in some places, like the teeth and the eyes, but it's nothing terrible. It sure does say a lot when the $10 kids toy has more effort and care put into its paint application than the premium $150 plus figures. This mix of light navy blue, grayish beige, and pinkish red, paired up with the admittedly clashing translucent red plastic of the main dorsal plates, is simple but decently colorful. And while it's definitely not movie accurate, you can at least tell it's supposed to be Godzilla Evolved, and it serves its purpose of being appealing to kids well enough. Although I wish they kept the slight paint washing that the GvK figures got for these new GxK figures. And I also wish they stuck with Godzilla's light magenta coloring on the dorsal plates from the film. I get that the kiddos would probably think that pink on Godzilla is gay and all, but I say, it's June, motherfucker. 1 point out of 2 for the paint job. As for the sculpting, it's fine. It captures his lean 5 nights without food likeness well enough, although he does look a bit too skinny compared to his appearance on screen, and it would have been neat if we got more of Godzilla's extra spiky texture for this form, but gotta keep the kids safe and work within the budgets, I guess. Since this is a kid's toy, the sculpting in a few places is gonna be a bit wonky, but it's nothing terrible. Though something I do like is how Playmates thickened Godzilla's dorsal plates a bit. As with previous Playmates Godzilla figures, their dorsal plates were very thin and prone to being bent easily. It also means he can withstand more time being bashed into his kaiju brethren by the gremlins we call children. As for the design of the new dorsal plates themselves, I really like them, but I prefer the old ones. Overall, I just prefer the old design, but regardless, I welcome this change. 1 point out of 2 for the sculpting. As for the articulation, it isn't much to note and is probably the least articulated out of the 4. You can 360 swivel his arms, swivel his legs this much, open his jaws to be this wide, and the tail is on a solid ball joint. It may look like he's got a neck swivel too, but it isn't budging for me, so I won't risk anything and just assume it doesn't have one. Aside from a running or charging pose, you can't really pose this guy, which is a damn shame, but his articulation works well enough for play. 1 point out of 2 for the articulation. As for accessories, he comes with a translucent atomic breath piece in the same color as his dorsal plates. Just firmly connect the peg to the hole on the roof of Godzilla's mouth, and now he's ready to make monkey jerky. It isn't much, but it's still something decent. The scaling is alright too. He's the standard 6-inch Godzilla figure, and scales well enough with other kaiju figures, although he's obviously gonna stand better with his Monsterverse co-stars. And from what we've seen in trailer clips, these sizes check out with each other, with one exception. But we'll get to that. 1.5 points out of 2 for the accessories and scale. As for the price and accessibility, he's only $10, and he's readily available in major retail stores such as Walmart and Target. Just one thing to note, since product distribution is sorta fucky at the moment, some Walmarts and Targets might not even have the GxK figures in stock or in decent quantities. So do keep that in mind if you plan to look for this guy and the other figures in person. But if you're a fat ass like me and refuse to get the fuck out of the house, you can get him on Amazon too. 2 points out of 2 for the price and accessibility. Tally up the points and you get a total score of 6.5 out of 10 for Godzilla Evolved. The paint job on Kong is alright. The mix of browns and grays isn't much to look at, but it's definitely more movie accurate. Although to be fair, Kong doesn't have much color to him at all, so that'd be pretty hard to not get right. However, Kong now wears the Infinity Gauntlet. the Beast Glove, making for a cool bright yellow addition to an otherwise bland color scheme. The Beast Glove itself doesn't have the best painting on it, but at least it has essential details like the logo's down, so it gets the pass, just like Kong himself. 1 point out of 2 for the paint job. As for the sculpting, it's alright too. One thing I do want to know is how much more accurate this sculpt is to Kong himself than the general GxK Kong mold. It looks like Playmates actually bothered to use or at least be more inspired by Kong's CGI model. A much needed upgrade in my opinion. Aside from that, he also seems to be the most detail-heavy figure of the four. His sculpt is more defined this time around, and I didn't even notice that Kong has some small but neat battle damage sculpted on him until later. I'm just going to assume that these injuries were caused by Skar King giving him a lore-accurate taste of the good old days. Not only is his detailing decent, but he overall feels better to hold than the other figures. Absolutely no hollow parts. He's just pure plastic, and I love it. 1 point out of 2 for the sculpting. As for the articulation, it's actually somewhat decent. You can 360 his arms, move the shoulders outward, bend the elbows, swivel the head, bend the hip joints, bend the knee joints, and swivel the wrist on the left hand but not the right due to the Beast Glove. There's also this weird sculpted inseam that gives the impression of being able to swivel his waist from there, but nope, it's kinda just there. It's really nothing bad, just a little distracting and disappointing. It would have been pretty awesome if you could swivel his waist. For a kid's toy, it's a good range of articulation, and while you can't get many poses out of this, it's still very serviceable for what it is. 1 point out of 2 for the articulation. As for accessories, he comes with a biomimic Heave, or Hollow Earth vehicle for short. It's a neat little vehicle that's supposed to be an upgrade to the Heave from the previous film. Kong's packaging says that it's Kong with the Beast Glove instead of this Heave for some reason, as if the glove itself was the accessory. However, the glove is not removable and is actually sculpted on Kong, so I don't know why they're treating the glove like it's the accessory when in reality it's the biomimic Heave. Whatever the case is, he's got an actual accessory, so we're good. The scaling is fine too. He's the usual 6-inch scale, looks nice with other figures and the other GxK figures, and seems to be accurate to the film's sizes. 1.5 points out of 2 for the accessories and scale. As for the price and accessibility, like the others, he's only $10, and he's readily available in major retail stores such as Walmart and Target. And like Godzilla Evolved, you can get him on Amazon too. 2 points out of 2 for the price and accessibility. Tally up the points and you get a total score of 6.5 out of 10 for Kong. The paint job on Skar King is okay as well. From what we've seen of promotional material for the film, the simple mix of red and white seems accurate enough for the $10 toy that it is. Although the application could have been just a bit better, especially this. This looks like I just took a red marker and drew on it. 1 point out of 2 for the paint job. As for the sculpting, it's alright. I hope you weren't taking shots for every time I said something was alright, and if you were, please call an ambulance. Skar King's sculpting seems to get his design well enough, based on what we've seen from promotional material. I quite like his teeth-baring expression here. It conveys his character more, and I like it way better than if he was roaring. It helps to make him stand out from Kong, who seems to be angry and roaring all the goddamn time with these Playmates figures. Look Kong, I know you're still salty about having your ass handed to you by Godzilla, but that was damn near 3 years ago. Take a chill pill and get over it. It's gonna happen again anyway. 1 point out of 2 for the sculpting. As for the articulation, he's definitely the most articulated figure of the bunch, as not only does he have all the joints Kong himself has, but he also has an ab joint, and a pretty good one at that. With a bit of patience, you can get him in some surprisingly decent poses, and while he isn't as articulated as an SH, NECA, or HIA figure, he can serve as a decent stand-in for your collection until HIA's version inevitably comes out. I say HIA because SH probably won't bother making him or anything else for GxK. And NECA's been dead in the water for nearly 4 years now. 1 point out of 2 for the articulation. As for the accessories, he comes with this cool whip, or whip slash as the packaging for the figure calls it. This is probably one of the most badass weapons a kaiju's ever wielded. A whip made of the bones of what were likely titans that tried to cross Skar King, tipped with what appears to be a warbat's bottom jaws. It would really suck to have a lot of melanin around this guy. As for scale, he's the standard 6 inches tall, and looks good with other figures. However, I'm not exactly sure if this height is accurate to Godzilla or Kong. Whatever the case is, this looks good enough I guess. 1.5 points out of 2 for the accessories and scale. As for price and accessibility, he's also $10, and he's also found in major retail stores such as Walmart and Target. However, I wasn't able to find him on Amazon for some reason, so that's a bit odd. But you can still order him online somewhere else. 2 points out of 2 for the price and accessibility. Tally up the points and you get a total score of 6.5 out of 10 for Skar King. The paint job on Shimo is because there's barely any. Shimo herself has the simplest overall color scheme, so she would subsequently have the weakest paint job. Usually this would warrant a bad score, a 0.5 out of 2 for me. But considering how Shimo herself has the simplest color scheme anyway, this is fine enough, I guess. While it's nothing to really write home about, I love the deep translucent blue plastic that makes up her crystal frill and dorsals. It looks really nice, and it helps to compensate for the borderline lack of paint on the rest of the figure. 1 point out of 2 for the paint job. As for the sculpting, she's definitely the weakest when it comes to detailing, as for some strange reason, the main part of her body is oddly smooth. This is also sort of the case for Godzilla Evolved, but it's even more apparent on Shimo, and while I can excuse this, I would have preferred if they defined the details a bit more. Detailing aside, I'm really liking the design itself. Shimo has this grand, powerful, yet majestic aspect to her design. While the toy itself does look a bit skinny compared to her actual design, the toy captures her image well enough. 1 point out of 2 for the sculpting. As for the articulation, it's not bad. Hinge joint at the head, look up and down around her, can open her jaws to be this wide, swivel her back legs this much, her shoulders are on hinge joints so she can 360 her arms and do this, feet can swivel, and her tail is on a solid ball joint. She isn't very articulated or anything, but you can get her in a couple of decent poses. 1 point out of 2 for the articulation. As for accessories, she comes with a translucent ice blast piece in this light blue color. Like Godzilla, just firmly connect the peg to the hole in the back of her mouth, and now she's ready to show Kong who's the superior race. Titan. Again, it's nothing special, but it's something. The scaling on the other hand is, well, how do I put this? While the scaling of the previous 3 figures is pretty close if not exact, Shimo's size is unfortunately pretty off. If you've been keeping up with GxK stuff, you likely know by now that Shimo is huge. However, because of this, the figure itself isn't to scale with the other GxK figures. But with that being said, it's not a big deal. At the end of the day, these are supposed to be affordable kids' toys, so I get why Shimo is smaller. Even though this figure may not be in scale, she still looks nice standing with other kaiju figures. And if you want her to appear more imposing, you could always have her just stand up. 1 point out of 2 for the accessories and scale. As for the price and accessibility, again, only $10, and she's available in major retail stores such as Walmart and Target along with the other 3. However, like Skar King, I wasn't able to find her on Amazon. But again, just look for her elsewhere. 2 points out of 2 for the price and accessibility. Tally up the points and you get a total score of 6 out of 10 for Shimo.
You're straight. You like boys.
I like both men and women. Thank you.
She likes boys. She likes boys. What a weirdo.
Dude, this is the Hollow Earth. Right here. Oh, these are just a bunch of monsters that live here.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me.
6-inch retractable car.
I forgot the line. Wait, hold on. I got here, and here. They don't attack from the front, but from the side.
This is Spinosaurus vs. Godzilla. Alright.
He's dead.
Yeah, we're there! We're here! Shut up!
Oh,